How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Mr. Blue podcast. I am your host, Mr. Blu-ray, and of course, just taking one of those little breaks from the podcast, like what other ideas I need to come up with. And this has kind of been bugging me all day today, but you know what? Like that's good. I've also been debating on if I should turn this into a podcast episode, but here we are. Just bear with me, guys, and don't mind in the background, like, if, like, I'm taking, like, a few sips, like, just in between sentences, like, I apologize in advance, guys. Like that one, if you just heard that one. Okay, so, I want to talk about, okay, of course, this episode is dedicated to the amazing Spider-Man franchise, yep, which unfortunately didn't live that long. But there is kind of like a silver lining to this, and I'll get to that in a few moments here. Maybe you guys will agree on this, like why things need to happen or whatever. So, obviously, Andrew Garfield was a new ball game, right? Like, as a kid, though, of course, I didn't explore the internet a lot, but I had no idea that there were plans for a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, right? But unfortunately, those plans are scrapped, and Tobey was supposed to have a new trilogy, right? Like, at this point in time, number 4 would have come out in 11, and who knows, maybe 5 would have come out in 13, and then 6, 17. But like I said, Andrew was a whole new ball game. Like, obviously Tobey was getting older, and they needed to find somebody younger. And Andrew, at this point in time in the process, like especially 2010, like he was in his late 20s. Kind of ironic how Tobey was casted as Spider-Man in his, I guess, mid to late 20s too. But yeah, there's just something about Andrew, you know, besides his edginess, like, you know, he just has that sense of like a kid, right? Like a teenager. Like, I remember seeing posts on Instagram over the years, like people, they come up with conclusions like, oh, Tobey Maguire's like the best Peter Parker, and Andrew Garfield's like the best Spider-Man. Like, okay, then where do you put Tom into all that, right? Of course, I was all for Andrew Garfield, and over the years, guys, Andrew became my new favorite Spider-Man, right? Like, I was just so excited, like, what was to come for the franchise, right? And, yes, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I have admitted this so many times on the channel, and of course I'm not afraid to admit it, but, like, TASM 2 is still my favorite movie. Like, guys, this year is literally the 10-year anniversary of that movie, and on Instagram, I better see, like, a crap ton of you guys on there, whoever's on there, like, backing this movie up, right? Like, if you call it the Spider-Man 3 of the Andrew Garfield universe, you're insane. And of course, I loved how Mark Webb directed these movies. Like, again, it's a fresh new take, right? Like, guys, again, when it comes to reboots, you need to expect new things, different things, right? Of course, your characters are still going to be the same from the comics, but just expect different formulas, right? But I got an easy question here for you guys. You know, it's not that hard to answer, so I got this question for you guys. Where the hell were all you maggots back in 2014? Huh? I know Andrew has asked this before, like, after, like post No Way Home, like, yeah, where the hell were you guys back in 2012, 2014, right? Like, of course, 2014 is the big one, but, like, come on, you guys. I mean, I'm happy that Andrew is getting all the praise now because, you know, to you guys, he redeemed himself in No Way Home, but, like, he immediately became my favorite in No Way Home, right? Just because, like, you could definitely sense the 2014 vibes. Like, it's like he's never changed. Well, like, his background in that movie is, like, how he's explained it, sure. But his physical appearance, like, geez, guys. And I was really looking forward to TASM 3, and to be also perfectly honest with you guys, I had no idea that Sony was planning out this little cinematic universe with Mark Webb's universe. And apparently the Spider-Verse movie was in development during, like, I guess the production of TASM 2, but, like, I think it was supposed to be live action, right? But, of course, it turned a animated movie, and it's successful now, right? One project I do disagree on, guys, is the solo Ant-Man movie, guys. I'm sorry, that's just not interesting. Like, no disrespect to the actress herself, but how would that work? Like, how was that going to work? Like, was she like a secret agent back in her day? That's the thing, though, guys. Like, I guess one problem that people have with these movies, which I still don't have a problem with, like the backstory with Peter's parents, like, guys, we need to know about his parents at some point, right? Like, in the Andrew Garfield movies, it made Peter's backstory more interesting, right? Like, man, like, the plans I've heard for TASM 3, like, man, oh my goodness, like, and the fact that Richard Parker was going to make a comeback, like, what I always do when I watch TASM 2, guys, right? Unfortunately, there's no mid-credit scenes, post-credit scenes, whatever. I watch Peter's father deleted scene, and I make that my post-credit scene, because why did they cut that out? Like again, I get it. They were supposed to save his appearance for number 3, but, like, you know what? He could have just left it in the movie, like, even as a post-credit scene. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the box office numbers for TASM 2 are just so bad. Like, seriously, that was a movie I really wanted to see in the theaters, for sure. And the villains. You gotta love the villains, right? Like, again, Lizard was a whole new ballgame, because remember, Dr. Connors was in the original, like, Spider-Man's 2 and 3, right? But, they never did anything with that character. They even had plans for his character for, was that supposed to be 4? Because I know Vulture in Spider-Man 4 was supposed to be the main villain, right? I'm also really happy to hear that Andrew has signed contracts with Marvel, Sony, and Disney to come back for multiple projects. Like, honestly, guys, at this point, I am convinced that TASM 3 will happen. So, here's how I think, how it should happen, right? Like, because I feel like you could still bring some concepts from TASM 3, like, but it has to be post No Way Home, right? Like, or maybe that event happened before No Way Home, and then Peter could reference it, right? But you got to bring in Mary Jane, you got to bring in Black Cat, reference the Sinister Six if that's happened, honestly. And honestly, TASM 3 would be a good movie to confirm and, I guess, retcon the Spider-Man cinematic universe that Sony's been trying to build since 2018, right? Like, just make all the villains canon, right? Even Morbius had a little reference in TASM 2. Like, that would make sense. Like, even in the Morbius trailers, the Oscorp building was shown in there, but of course they have to cut that out. And correct me, like, I might have heard this wrong, guys, but, like, in Madam Web, didn't Sony shoot all of his scenes, but they couldn't leave them in there because the timeline is all wrong? I feel like that would give them, like, another comeback. Like, okay, so of course it doesn't take place in the Tobey Maguire universe, unfortunately, even though it takes place in 2003. What if, I don't know, what if Strange's spell open, well, okay, Madam Web's universe could have opened too, like, you know, all the different Spider-Verses in No Way Home were trying to get into Earth 616, right? What if she saw Andrew Garfield and she'd be like, he's the one, like, something like that. And, like, I mean, can you imagine if he accidentally jumped into her universe and he's stuck there? Like, geez. I'm not saying that like as a bad thing. Like, sure, it's a terrible situation for Peter 3, right? But I mean, who knows? And I do believe Kraven the Hunter is supposed to confirm a lot of things. Well, they're still doing reshoots. Isn't Andrew part of that movie now? Because again, I think Kraven the Hunter could prove that the Villainverse and the TASM universe are connected. Like, at this point, that would be a lot of movies for Mark Webb to direct, like the Villainverse movies. I'm happy that we have different directors. Like, I feel like with Mark Webb, he could still direct, the Andrew Garfield movies. Like, hey, I'll take care of these movies. You guys take care of like the Villainverse movies, and we'll find ways for them to connect, right? Like Sony. Ever since the original Spider-Man 2, you've been greedy because how successful that movie was, and you've been greedy with a lot of Spider-Man films. And again, don't get me wrong, guys. I still like Spider-Man 3. I think it's a decent film. And of course, I don't think Sony mucked up the TASM movies for sure. But yeah, there was a lot of projects in the works. And there was supposed to be a TASM 4 as well. So let's see, we're supposed to get TASM 3, TASM 4, the Aunt May movie, Sinister 6. And who knows what that version of Rhino could bring to the table in Kraven the Hunter, because his Rhino skin is forming from his own body, right? Because what are they going to do with TASM 2 Rhino, huh? Would Peter would have already killed him? Or something like that? Like, after Gwen died, like, he was on his rampage, like, that would make sense, right? And then bring in the other Rhino from the Villainverse, right? I didn't get a lot of merch from the TASM movies, but, I'm still proud to own the Electro minifigure from 2014. That was the only thing we could get from Lego, other than, like, the San Diego Comic-Con TASM 2 minifigure, and I'm happy that we have an Andrew Garfield minifigure now that the public can just easily get access to. Like, honestly, I think now is a perfect time for Lego to make TASM sets. Because, and I think they should give Spider-Man 3 sets, fair is fair, right? Like, again, we need to make it fair, right? So going back to the TASM 3 story, like, again, yeah, just grab some elements from there, but like, and make it like immediately pick up after No Way Home. If they can, show flashbacks, right? Show flashbacks. Now, from what these reports I've heard, like with Garfield's contract, they said he's going to pop up in multiple Marvel projects. Like, that includes, like, Disney and Sony's. Like, okay. If it's a Sony movie, again, which ones will he pop up in? Again, Kraven the Hunter is most likely for him to make a comeback. Does he need to appear in every Villainverse movie to confirm, like, they're part of his world? Like, and guys, seriously, I'm all for Andrew Garfield being the main Spider-Man for Sony's universe, right? Like, Sony, it's just obvious. Don't set up another Spider-Man. We already have 4, okay? Tobey Maguire's is standalone. Again, there could be some huge connections with Garfield's. Of course, with Tom Holland's, he's part of the MCU, right? And then you got Miles Morales, which is also standalone, But I'm pretty convinced with his Spider-Man, he will come into Earth 616, like in the Secret Wars comics, like Battle Worlds. Like, after Secret Wars, he's on that Earth permanently. Like, can you imagine Miles interacting with the MCU characters? Like, well, of course, for Secret Wars, but like post too, right? The first film still gets a lot of praise for sure, TASM. But guys, I think TASM 2 just had the right ingredients. Like, I understand your problems with 3, like, um, Avi Arad, like, he's been a help, let's say, over the years, but he has been a problem in a few years. Like, he's the one, of course, anybody knows is the backstory. Like, he wanted Venom to be in Spider-Man 3, right? Like, just leave it, like, for Sandman. Sandman is still, like, the main villain, right, of that movie, and Venom's just, like, this side character, really, and New Goblin, more of, like, the anti-villain, really. I liked how TASM 2 put in multiple villains, like, because, with Harry being Green Goblin, like, it's a personal fight with him and Peter. That I understand. Rhino, again, that was foreshadowing and setting up, the Sinister Six. And Electro is cool. Like, how can you not love his theme? His theme is iconic. It was so iconic to the point that Disney brought that theme back for a little bit in No Way Home. Like, yes, that is his official theme. Like, I hope he comes back in future projects, and that'll be his theme from now on. Like, of course, I love the violins that come with this. Like, of course, him being a regular person, right? Like, the violins come in, and then the voices come in. Like, I love how Pharrell Williams, who made that song, like, he explained, like, how the song it basically explains his story. Like, he's a nice guy, but then later on he's got all this rage, this madness. Like, he just wants to hurt everyone, Excuse me. Either way, that theme is a banger. Yeah, all this hype for Andrew really came up, like, for No Way Home, like, before the movie came out, like, and I love seeing people's reactions in the theater, like, them reacting to Andrew, like, yes, we have some people that still love him, like, man, I'm still proud with the Blu-ray releases that I got. Like, I got the Walmart exclusive slipcover for it. I have the regular Blu-ray digibook. It's funny, guys, like, after the No Way Home teaser trailer came out, right? Like, Blu-ray sales for the Tobey Maguire digipack, like, those sales just went through the roof. Like, I haven't heard anything from Andrews, but, like, hopefully you guys bought that digipack, because, yeah, we need to give this guy all the love that he deserves still, right? And, of course, Sony screwed him over, right? Because of the box office failure for TASM 2, like, they immediately fired him, and that's when they went to Disney, like, hey, we want to share Spider-Man with your universe, right? So that's when the deal was made. Okay, so here's where the silver lining part comes in, right, guys, right? Like, even after TASM 2, like, Andrew did not want to talk about Spider-Man anymore, like, again, here's the silver lining. I'm happy that we have Tom, right? Because, his Peter was still going through a lot of crap in the peak of the MCU, but No Way Home was a gateway for both Tobey and Andrew, and to help Peter throughout his journey. And like, yes, as sucky as the TASM franchise was done, I mean, who knows if Disney, like, okay, so if Sony was going to continue the TASM franchise after 2, like, I believe maybe it would be Disney this time, like, the roles would be reversed. Like, what if Kevin Feige asked Amy Pascal, like, hey, we want to use Andrew Garfield for our universe. Like, even back in the day, I was convinced, like, maybe he was going to be the MCU Spider-Man, right? And I'm happy that we have 3 Spider-Mans now. Peter Parker wise, of course, because like, man, I remember the debates, guys, the debates. Now, all Spider-Men are, like, they're equals now. Like, everybody loves all of them. Yeah, they casted Tom really, really young. Like, man, like, geez, in his late teens, I remembered. Like, I mean, hey, it's a fresh start, right? Like, he's not in his 20s yet. Like, again, at that time. And the silver lining with this is still contained with that, like, it offered Andrew more future Spider-Man projects, right? So I can't wait when he comes back for Secret Wars, because I honestly hope him and Charlie Cox's Daredevil will meet, because, you know, those two are good friends, right? And they're also best friends with Tom Hiddleston, right? So imagine, like, Loki, Daredevil, and Peter 3, like, meeting in one room, right? And of course, in No Way Home, it gives the TASM villains more redeemable qualities too, right? Like, of course, I still loved Electro's blue design. Just seeing him in his, like, you know, his actual physical form again, like, man. I wonder if that was the route that Sony wanted to go with originally. But yeah, and all this stuff with Marvel Spider-Man 4, both with Disney and Sony at the time, a little while back, Sony wanted to do another multiversal film because Disney's in the multiverse saga. Like, we want to bring back Toby and Andrew again so they can make us billions again. And I am on board with everyone. Like, no, having another multiversal film in 4 is just not going to work. Okay, I do believe that Disney and Sony did come to an agreement. Disney wants to do it street level, right? And again, Sony wants to make another multiversal film. Well, they come to the final verdict that they're going to use both of them, so 50-50. So, of course, we're still going to have that street level Civil War, and then there's going to be multiverse bits in it. Like, honestly, I'm not expecting Andrew and Toby to come back for that one, because it needs to be, you know, worth the wait again, right? Like, for Secret Wars. Because that film doesn't come out until, like, 27, right? 2027? Am I wrong on that? I mean, hey, if we're gonna wait that long, then so be it, you know? Like, again, as much as I don't want to wait that long, like, we got other Disney and Sony projects to look forward to, right? I thought Madam Web was okay. Even though they kind of clickbait, like, oh, she connects them all. They're talking about the 3 Spider Women in the movie, right? But you know what? To me, I still think of it as, yeah, she still connects the Spider-Verse, right? Hopefully in a Madam Web 2 movie, they'll go more into depth with the Spider Women and Madam Web's powers, and again, bring in multiple Spider-Men, you know? I mean, I could pretty much tell Sony was rushing this film. Like, I am not trashing on this film, guys, in any means, guys. Like, I'm looking forward to buy the Blu-ray, right? Like, and sometimes for storytelling, you need to have grounded characters, right? Like, not everything can be crazy all the time, right? Like, and honestly, I wasn't really sure how they're going to pull off, like, her being blind, but they did it perfectly at the end, and apparently she's paralyzed, which I had no idea that was, like, a thing in the comics, but, you know, this works. So I feel like there is a director's cut out there somewhere for this movie, right? Like, um, even if there was, and if it has like Andrew in it, it doesn't have to be canon, guys. Like, it could be like an experimental cut, right? Like, Sony could release it, and they'd be like, okay, this is what we wanted to present, right? Like, um, and if Sony gets our approval, like, what we think, like, like we could see why this had to be cut, or like, yeah, the timelines are off. Like, yeah, like, um, I'm not justifying bad writing, guys. If this movie would have came out years ago when I was like in high school, I would have defended it like all the way, right? Um, I was honestly really hoping that this would take place in Tobey's universe because this takes place in '03. Like, oh, like 1 year after like the first Spider-Man, right? Like, because you got freaking Aunt May and Uncle Ben in this timeline, and they're very young. Like, um, okay, like that didn't sit well with me, guys. I don't know. I could go on and on about this, but like, um, and like I'd be willing to watch it again for sure, and like just to get like a better, clearer picture too. Like, it's always best to watch films twice, guys. Like to get the better picture of it all, right? I mean, they could have at least showed like a mid or post credit scene for Madam Web, like showing the four main Spider-Men, right? Again, Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3, Miles. Or maybe Madam Web could lead on to the next movie, like maybe lead on Kraven the Hunter or whatever, or maybe another Spider Project. I do have hope and potential for Kraven the Hunter, but here's the funniest thing that Sony said about this movie. They want it to be $1 billion franchise. Like, whoa, wait a minute, Sony. You're putting the... I don't know if this applies for, but like, I guess you're putting the cart before the horse. I don't know if that works. You have these expectations, but that depends on us, the fans, and if it does well, because this is actually going to be the first R-rated Spider-Verse or Villainverse movie, if you will, because Venom was supposed to be the first one. I know for sure this time they're not gonna like skimp out on us, like because like what they did with Venom, like Sony, we get it. You want families to come see these movies, right? But like, you gotta make them rated R, You gotta make these movies rated R. I don't know if Madam Web... I don't think Madam Web needed an R rating anyway, and it's not a villain-verse movie, but it's kind of part of that franchise, so what are you gonna do, right? And now I'm also hearing, like, this is a while back, like, Sony wants to make a movie on, well, I guess multiple movies on the different, like, on the past Spider-Man villains, like, from Tobey Maguire's universe and Andrew Garfield's universe, like, a Doc Ock movie. Okay, if a Doc Ock movie is going to happen, in theory, guys, that one should be PG-13, because, Sam Raimi's universe. And have Sam Raimi come back to direct that one. And, of course, it needs to be post No Way Home. What else? So, have the movie start with him coming back, like, into his present day, 2004, right? But then, years later, he's still using the arms, and he's helping Spider-Man fight crime, right? And then J. Jonah Jameson believes he's a good guy, like, after all these years, Doc Ock is, like, finally a hero. He's teaming up with that menace Spider-Man, but Doc Ock is a great hero. Like, how he is. Or can you imagine if Jameson, still dissed Spider-Man, like, and Doc Ock is the greatest superhero of all time. Like, jeez, Jameson. Like, um, I mean, a film like that needs to work, right, guys? Otherwise, what's even the point? Like, you can't even reboot that character. There's only one Doc Ock, and that's Alfred Molina. So, yeah, you can't recast that character in a heartbeat. Nope, I won't allow it. Um, I want to see an Electro film happen, but how can you make that one work? Like, of course, he's good again, but like, maybe his powers weren't like all drained. Like maybe it just like shut them down for a while, but then like something happens to him and then they activate again. But like he uses them for good. You know what I mean, guys? But I know for a Sinister Six movie, guys, like I know like they're still gonna keep Michael Keaton, Jared Leto, and hopefully Tom Hardy and Aaron Taylor Johnson and whoever's playing Rhino. Like, okay, so you got your 5 members, right? But you need one more member. I feel like with Quentin Beck, like, what if he got transferred like from Earth 616 to maybe Andrew Garfield's universe, and he will be the Mysterio there, right? Like, and you got your Sinister Six, right? And that film cannot fail, okay? Because if Sony plans to like keep like the original scripts or whatever, or like put little bits and pieces in what they're trying to do now, like Sony, if you want to win the fans over again, like you gotta make this good. You gotta make this good, guys, okay? Because as much as I want a Sinister Six film so bad, it cannot fail, okay? It just cannot. Otherwise, you're wasting both your time and our time. Like, that just can't happen, okay, Sony? And you can't say, like, oh, we know what the fans want. But no, we know what we want. Okay? Like, honestly, guys, we need a fan in Sony, like, to direct a Spider-Man related film. Like, a fan that actually speaks to us, the fans, right? Like, we know what we want for sure. Of course, the Venom movies they're popular films, right? Like, yeah, the other Sony related movies haven't been that successful, but like after Venom 3, what's going to happen next? Like, one of those villains needs to take that spot, And I would want Sony to make a Morbius 2, guys. I definitely enjoyed the first film. Like, just make a Morbius 2 and make that one rated R, I was looking forward to this ever since I saw the very first teaser trailer back in 2019. And I'm actually happy that they shot everything in 2019, right? But like there was no excuse in 2020 like why they couldn't release it, right? Like, just they should have put it out there, right, guys? Can we all agree on that? But like 3 years later they released it, right? Like from 2019 to 22, like, yeah, they Sony, what are you doing? Like, why are you causing problems? Seriously. Like, you're just like any other movie studio, right? You like to cause problems, unfortunately, and like I said, you gotta win us over, or again, you're just wasting our time. So you better get to it. You better get to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4, Mark Webb's Amazing Spider-Man franchise. Like, yes, for TASM 3, you need to bring back Mark Webb, because like I said, that man is a creative genius. Like, you can't go on with that franchise without Mark Webb. Like, Just like you can't go on with the Tobey Maguire universe without Sam Raimi, right? Like, at least that piqued his interest to come back, like, after Multiverse of Madness, like, all the hate has died down since, ever since 2007, like, he just didn't want to come back in the superhero business anymore, right? Like, and I do have hope for him to possibly direct Secret Wars, because he's one of the directors rumored to direct that. So, like, why not? Why not? Why not bring him back for that? Of course, we need to get his Spider-Man 4 out of the way first before Secret Wars comes out. Alright, guys. I think I'm going way too long with this podcast, but, like, yeah, I just wanted to talk about the Andrew Garfield franchise, like, how much that meant to me growing up. Like, I remember this film, like, especially the merchandise popping for sure. Yeah, I'm just happy to see that he's back, and, he's going to come back for multiple projects, and hopefully you guys are excited too, because, well, again, where were you guys back in 2014, right? Like, again, people keep jumping back and forth, like, they're trying to forget their past, like what negative comments said, like, this goes back to the MCU, right? Like, people, like, they hate the MCU now, but they act like the first 3 phases were so perfect. Like, no, you guys were criticizing most of those movies, like, and now you're saying, like, oh, this is good now, like, this is better compared to what we have now, like, oh, so you like Thor the Dark World now, right? Because Love and Thunder sucked? Like, where were you guys in 2013, right? And who seriously thought that the Guardians of the Galaxy was going to fail, huh? I thought the trailers would indicate to you guys, like, it was going to be a funny movie, right? Again, where do you get off with that? Like, you can't say now, like, oh, the first phases of the MCU are better, and, no, you guys are, you're pretty much contradicting yourselves at this point. Close to being hypocrites, not quite, but, like, you gotta eat your own words, seriously. You can't just forget your past, okay? But I'm happy that a lot more people enjoy TASM 2 more now, because, yeah, that makes me happy. Alright, guys, I'm getting way too long with this, so thank you so much for tuning in the podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please send the post notification bell, share my content if you haven't already, and tell me in the comments, guys, what do you think of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and are you happy that Andrew is back? Like, again, I certainly am. Like, there's still hope left for him, for sure, and Sony, you can't screw him over again. You can't, and if you truly want him to be the Spider-Man in your universe, then you gotta treat him right, okay? You gotta treat him right. I'm happy that Kevin Feige was there for all the different iterations of Spider-Man. Like, he has a great relationship with all those guys. Like, I feel like Andrew hasn't aged a day, guys. Like, he just looks like a teenager still, Like, after all these years, like, even after, like, the decade since the last one came out, like, again, I feel like he's never going to age. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much. May the Lord be with you guys. Always love you guys. Peace out, guys. And remember, Avengers Assemble. All right, good night, guys.